Welcome to Crypto BS. I'm Al.
And I'm Craig.
And welcome to the show. We bring you some world news, crypto news, our calls on the market for the week, what we're looking for, what our trades are. We also have a little bit of challenge update news for our weekly challenge. So it'll be pretty good. As far as world news goes, there's not a whole lot out there that I foresee affecting the market. There is a little bit more news with Russia. They have slowed some of the oil that's leaving. They're keeping their gas flow still about that 20% to keep the EU on their toes. And Argentina, they're now at a 60% inflation rate, which is striking considering how upset we've been here on our inflation. We're not in double digits, but that does bring up the CPI news from today. It appears as though our inflation has topped and is starting to move back in the right direction, which is going to be good news for all markets involved. Craig, is that going to affect your trading at all going forward this week or over the next month or so?
Most likely not.
You're not a big believer in outside news. You love the charts, but you're not a big believer in how these other factors really affect you, are you?
I wouldn't say that. I believe that news affects the markets.
Yeah, but it doesn't really affect what you do, though, from week to week.
Not necessarily, because I'm a long-term person, so I see through the short-term setbacks with the news in hopes that we get some good news down the road that'll push everything up.
But does that even affect your weekly input, how much you're putting into the market or what you're putting it in?
Nope.
Yeah. About what I figured. I know that you look at it, but like I said, I don't think it affects what you do. Whereas I believe in it a little bit more than that. There's some good exchange news that's out. I guess, wouldn't say good news for Curve Finance. They got hacked for, about $500,000. But on the other side of it, Robinhood has added Avalanche and XLM. And Avalanche had a pretty good run up over the last, week or so. It looks to me like there were people that definitely knew that was coming along. And it seems to me that we're getting a Robinhood pump instead of the Coinbase pump that we used to get in 2017, 18, 19, in that time range. What do you think, Craig? Is that an accurate guesstimation there that now everything is moving towards what has happened on Robinhood versus what's happening on Coinbase?
I don't know so much about that. I think the big thing with Robinhood right now is that they're adding their crypto wallet, which that hasn't launched yet, has it? Well, I guess
you can pull it off. I think you can.
It's launched, but there's a long waiting list. Is right. And I don't know. I think they have the new wallet, and they're just trying to add more coins to it to get more users on their platform. So,
but do you think it's affecting the price? That when they launch these new coins, that there's a little movement up in it? I mean, they added Stellar, which is a fork of Ripple that really hasn't done anything in the last couple of years.
I think it'll affect the price, but I think the actions are not so much to support a coin as much as it is just to grow their portfolio, what they have access to, and I think what they're really shooting to do is become a one-stop shop for all things investing. You know, we've seen them add certain things over the last bit. They started doing their share loaning. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's more or less the other side of, where you can loan your crypto out for a certain interest rate. They're doing that in an automatic way with user accounts, and they've added cryptos, and I think they're just trying to be the one-stop shop for investing. And I think with that, they'll have a pretty good user base that comes in and puts more money into crypto, that we're kind of shy of downloading another app and going into these unknown companies and putting their bank accounts connected to these. I think they're just going to grow the base of investors that are putting money into crypto. And so when they add these coins, they're adding more users that have access to these coins.
Okay, well, I still think that it looks to me like we're getting that Coinbase effect on Robinhood now. we haven't seen anything that's hit Coinbase has had a huge pump like that in a while. Anything that people really want are already using. They've been adding a bunch of those new dinky coins that nobody's really paying that much attention to. And so for me, with Avalanche is a fairly substantial coin. And I think it's got a lot of good possibilities. As a matter of fact, one of our listeners called in, texted me the other day and was like, "Hey, what do you think, Stellar or Avalanche?" For me, it was a no-brainer. If you're going to go into it for Avalanche, but waiting for it to pull back off of that pump would be what I'm looking at, somewhere around $27 or $28. Of course, everything's moving up right now, but I don't know. I would go with Avalanche before I went with Stellar. What about you?
Yeah, I think I would too. I mean, Avalanche has definitely been hot on the scene over the last several months. Stellar, I haven't even heard anything about Stellar in over a year.
Yeah, I haven't heard of them really doing anything. I know they're still trying to do some of the cross-border stuff, but really, what have they been doing to manifest their worth? They're not.
Yeah, for being on the front page as long as they were early on, they really haven't made any big progress.
I still got some Stellar. I've got it on one of my wallets.
I remember buying into it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And what have they done?
Nothing. So anyways, yeah, go with Avalanche over Stellar. Not financial advice. Other things with, speaking of Coinbase, I guess, they missed their earnings, and they missed it substantially by about $1 billion. So it was rough. Apparently their revenue's down about 64% year over year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how though? Because I mean, is trading volume down that much?
They missed trading volume estimates as well. But I think one of the other things that's happened is, a lot of people have been pulling Bitcoin off of Coinbase. They're pulling they're pulling off of it. I know that some people sold out, but maybe not as many people sold as we thought. Maybe that's part of why why it dropped as fast as it did.
I mean, I guess I would understand total volume going down this year as compared to last year, because last year we had the big push up, and like that makes sense. But to be down 64%. I mean, they've lost more than half of their revenue. I mean, surely trading volume isn't down that much. Something had to happen.
Well, maybe they were invested in Three Arrows too, or some of these. Maybe they had a big investment in Terra Luna.
I would hope not.
Well, I mean, but it makes sense.
Yeah, there's got to be more to it than just the trading fees pushing into that.
Yeah, well, they're also getting sued by some of the investors that have gone ahead and went into it. I don't know, that just came out today. Looks like some of the investors feel like they were not properly warned ahead of time before they launched their stock onto the stock market. I don't know. Wait to see what happens with that. But the good news is that BlackRock has partnered with Coinbase. If you've been looking anywhere online or paying attention to it at all, you'll see that that's some pretty big news. It allows the firm's institutional clients to have some access to trading and custody. However, it is at this time limited to Bitcoin. So I don't know, that BlackRock has $10 trillion under management. That's a lot of money, a lot of assets, a lot of investors that could do a lot. But if they're only access to Bitcoin, it sounds like Bitcoin may be the way to go looking forward, if you want to exploit this. Man, really, I think as far as the individual assets go, Polygon has had some pretty good news. They got added to Disney's accelerator program last week, and they just did a deal with Coke, and they'll be launching some quote-unquote special digital collectibles in the metaverse through Polygon. So I think that's really good news for them. And I've always liked Matic, and I don't know, that could be one that I could start DCAing on in the near future. Bet you, Craig, interested?
I like Matic.
Do you still have some Matic?
I do.
Interested in
I have it
pumping those
farmed.
bags a little bit? Oh, you got it on the farm.
I have it straight up and I have it farmed.
Okay. Well, I like it. I like that, it's a good second layer. It still gives more speed, lowers that cost. So I'm all about it. Solana, man, it's a thorn in my side. I do like Solana. I like what they've done up until really the last couple months. I don't know. It's not good news. Part of the rapid rise of Solana last year was due in part to some scam, really, I guess, run by these two brothers through Saber and Sunny. Do you remember Saber and Sunny? Do you remember those tokens or platforms at all? You remember that?
I don't recall those at all. Like 0%.
Well, I know, Ran over at, do you remember the South African guys online? You remember those guys? You know those guys?
Nope.
Crypto Banner, that's what it is. They're big into Saber and Sunny, and which, I mean, we all miss. It's not a big deal, but I would like to get their take on what they know about it or how they feel about it now, and if that changes much about them. But it looks like a lot of the TVL, the total value locked on Solana, was through these projects, and they're counted multiple times, which really pumped up the total value that was on Solana, roughly to the tune of about $7.5 billion worth of assets that were there, but not there 3 times as it was counted, to make it look like they had more on there. So it made it look like these protocols were doing a whole lot more than what they really were. It's just kind of shady. So that's kind of disappointing for me. And Solana, of course, they've had their hacks and some of their issues over the last year. I still have Solana, but I'm not looking to add any more to my bags. You interested in putting any more on, selling what you got, do anything with it, wait and see what?
I actually don't have anything in Solana, so I just don't know much about them. I don't know that I care to know much about them.
Well, based on this, if this was the first discussion about it, I wouldn't be pumped about
this is an absolute no.
Tornado Cash. This is really interesting and really funny. So the U.S. Treasury has imposed some sanctions on the crypto mixer Tornado Cash for its alleged roles in money laundering operations, specifically with I don't know how to say it without getting a mark on us, the Northern Korean Peninsula. So Tornado Cash is what they were using to launder about $1 billion worth through. Now, what's funny is people are now using Tornado Cash, running ETH through it, and then sending it to different prominent figures within the United States. So, like, they're sending it to Shaquille O'Neal. They're trying to get it to Gary Gensler and anybody in office because it's now being sanctioned. So they're like, oh, well, how are you going to determine whether or not someone was using it nefariously? Is it anybody that's ever received any of this? In that case, they're sending it through that mixer and then sending out little pieces of that to everybody. So now how are you going to regulate that? Everybody has some of it. What are you going to do about it? I think it's hilarious.
That is fun.
I mean, go ahead.
I wish I would have thought about it.
Dude, I mean, well, I wish everybody already had an ETH address and, send it straight to Pelosi. Send it straight to Biden. Send it to anybody in the U.S. Treasury office and say, okay, now what are you going to do about it since you're basically saying that these guys are doing it wrong? All right, well, now you've got some of it too. What are you going to do? Are you going to go to jail? You're going to take yourself to jail. It's just interesting that we're starting to see some of these laws being passed and that can't be truly enforced in the way that they think that it can. Because what are you going to do with this? I don't know. It looks like the SEC is in for another fight right now, in that the CFTC, is that right? CFTC is trying to come in there and fight for ownership through a bill and being declared, some of this being declared money as opposed to being declared securities. So a bill is currently in front of the Senate, I guess. It's working its way up, but to try to actually get some good legislature pushed forward on who actually controls the crypto universe. I think it'll be good if we can get out of the hands of the SEC. I don't think that they should have full control over it. I actually think that there should be a security exchange for crypto only, and it only be based on crypto instead of having all of these other entities trying to catch a piece of it.
Do you want it regulated at all?
I think that it needs some type of regulation.
What for?
I think that in some ways we've got to ensure that these issues that we're seeing, like with Terra Luna, with the Mt. Gox issue that we had before, some of these platforms that are not doing the right thing. I mean, you and I both know a person who has put out his own cryptocurrencies that absolutely did nothing and only the chance to make money and not have anything else to do with it, not trying to perform anything well with it. I know that it could be up to somebody else if they choose to invest into this, that they don't even know anything about it. I get that, but there's got to be a little bit of protection out there somehow. We don't know where this is going at the end of the day. I mean, don't you want this protected some way? Especially if the government gets into it and it starts doing something with it, whether they're going to, put out the digital dollar in some way. Don't you want this protected?
I would like certain protections, I guess, but I think with that comes the natural overregulation of the government, and then the ability for them to just continue to push down more and more regulation to make things harder and harder and more expensive.
That's always going to come. That's going to come through regardless. I think that versus no regulation at all.
I think I'm on team no regulation. I think I'm on team just let us trade our crypto. Just let us do it. Just I need somebody to come out with a statement that says these are not securities, do whatever the heck you want, have fun. And I'm down. Because that's basically what we've been in for a while, for the most part.
That would still be a regulation.
What are they regulating?
They're regulating that these aren't securities. They don't have to play by the rules of securities.
I don't know that saying that no rules is a rule.
I think that would totally be a rule, because right now, ask Ripple what the rule is. Their rule was, we're not telling you what you are, therefore you be whatever you want to be, until the SEC said, now we're going to say that you're a security. And
well, that would be them regulating it by labeling them as a security.
At any point in time, they could come in and say that they're a security. And then it's either you pay us or you don't do it. What I'm saying is I want somebody
to come out with authority that says this is something else entirely. We're not going to treat it as X, Y, and Z. Do whatever you want.
I think you got me all the way up until the do whatever you want.
Because I want it as decentralized as possible. I don't want the government's fingers involved in this. Because they'll ruin it. They will absolutely, they will ruin all of it. They'll ruin it.
I would agree with that. I would agree with they're going to definitely have an effect on it that we're not currently using. And I think that eventually there's going to have to be some type of rules in place. Because I really don't like the way that the platforms have complete control over your crypto when you sign, and you don't have a choice. It's either you sign up with us and say, hey, you're going to turn all of your crypto over to us. It no longer belongs to you, even though you paid for it, you put it on there. But for us to hold it on here, now it doesn't belong to you in the event that something happens to the platform. That's not right. But I guess you could say, well, then just don't get on that platform. But eventually, if you're wanting to do trading, you've got to.
Depends on what type of trading you're doing, I guess. If you're a long-term holder, I mean, let's play devil's advocate a little bit. There's two sides. Like if you're day trading, yeah, you're not putting it on a hard wallet because you got to move on and off and on and off and do all this. But if you're a long-term holder, like I'm buying Bitcoin now and I'm going to hold on to it until it gets to my price point and then I'm going to just offload it, you don't have to hold it on a platform at all.
That is true. And that's the counter argument to it. And I completely get it. But, if you want to put it on there and you want to earn your interest on it, if you want to stake it, you got to leave it on that platform, just like Celsius was. I know I can hear your thoughts already in your head. Well, that's part of the risk, right?
I was going to say that there's pros and cons to everything. And
Yeah.
I think the pro to no regulation is the freedom to just kind of act without all these rules and what ifs and punishment by the government. And then the con would be that you get into the rules, the what ifs, and the downfalls of the platforms. I guess it's a pick your poison. What do you trust more, the government or the platforms? That's more or less what it comes down to. And it's the real answer is neither, right? The real answer is neither. I don't know. I just know that I don't think the government's going to do us any good. And the way things have been so far haven't been terrible. So I'll go with what I know versus the devil I know versus the devil I don't know.
Well, I mean, if one of these, especially like you said that you use KuCoin quite a bit, you use KuCoin. It's not here. It's not within the United States, and you have no way. If they shut down right now, everything you've got over there is gone.
But would U.S. regulation be able to stop that, or are you just adding more to the equation now?
I think you would at least have a weapon in the ability to go over there to get it. If it's offered here, if you have access to it here,
I think that money's gone.
That may be. It may be, but at least you would have the ability to contact someone here to go after it. Mount Gox. There were people here that had money on Mount Gox. Now, Japan's a little bit closer ally, and they're doing a lot of the legwork. But if it would have made it a lot easier had we had a contact here in the government that was in control of the cryptoverse that could have helped line everything up.
Well, fortunately for you, I think this is going to happen whether we like it or not. So
yeah, well, I
don't think
definitely
I don't think there's even a debate to be had. I think the U.S. is seeing that the time is now that they need to get involved, and they're going to do it no matter what. And they could botch the entire thing, or maybe somehow magically they'll get it right. But it's going to happen either way.
There's not enough magic in the world for them to get it right. They're too greedy.
I think with the right protections in place, making people register and like make the platforms just like any big company that you would buy shares of stocks in, and then on top of that, just changing even the tax code would be real nice.
I think that's the start.
Like the only count the capital gains when you're moving from fiat to crypto and back instead of each crypto trade. I think that's nonsense. It's just as dumb as that wealth tax that they pushed out a while back. They didn't push it out as an enforcement, but they pushed the idea. It doesn't make any sense. And they can't get the wealth tax to pass, and yet somehow that's how crypto is being taxed. It's dumb. But I think if they were to change the tax rules and then they were to offer some sort of protections against nefarious actions of platforms, that would be doing it right. But I don't think they're going to do that.
Mm-mm. No, but I think you're right. That would be, I think we're talking about the optimal way to do it, which means there's no way the government is going to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, shall we move into updates on the challenge?
Sure. Would you like to go first this time?
Well, I think we should brief our new listeners to what the challenge is.
Go ahead.
So our weekly challenge is $100 added to our trading account each week. Craig and I both are using real money. This is not paper trading. We are actually putting it into our accounts, and we are using it in any way we see fit. We can hold it, trade it, buy it, sell it, stake it, bought it, which is the newest form that Craig has been using lately. And that's the intent for us to race to $100,000 off of using only $100 a week. So currently we are at week 7, moving into week 8. Does that sound right?
I think we're 6 going into 7. And I say that because I have just under $700 invested. And I know I haven't lost money.
But you missed a week of the ADA. I mean, of the XRP.
No, I had put that $100 somewhere else. I didn't put it into the Ripple, and so I just went into bought into the Ripple 1 week late. So I have it.
Okay, well, I'll start it then. So I hit a couple of ETH trades over the last week, which was not my intent. My intent was to go ahead and start adding in, looking at going into sand at around $1.29. I ended up not doing that. ETH got into a range that looked good for me, so I did do exactly what I said I wasn't going to do, which was 3x margin it, and I hit 2 trades with it, bringing my total in my margin account up to $712. I still have $5 in Gary from the $10 bet. And I don't think it's going to do me any good anytime soon. I also put $100 into Cardona on the Cardona versus Ripple bet, which I have staked. Its current value is $111.03. And I have $100 left on the sidelines that I put into spot last week that I did not use to get into sand. So I am sitting at $928.24.
You're up 300?
That's why I'm saying I think we're at 7.
I think you put an extra 100 in there.
I haven't yet.
I will guarantee you that this is the start of week 7 right now, and I'll tell you why. Because this is episode 9, and we did 2 extra episodes on the way here, which means if you take those 2 out, this is episode 7, which means it's the start of week 7, which means you should have 600 in there.
Yeah, but I hit several early on.
I mean, I'm saying you could be up 300.
I'm doing well. I mean, I haven't put anything extra into it. I haven't. I'm just beating you that bad.
Hey, you could be. I'm playing very conservative. I just need you to miss once.
Boy, I'm telling you.
And I just need you to miss those margins one time.
I know, and that I didn't want to do it on the margins last week, but it hit what I was looking for. So I hit it. Last week I was at 608, and I hit 2 trades since then on the money side of it. That's 712. So I went from which is about right. And then we all know how the Gary versus Burger went, which was ugly for me. And then I still have the 100 on the sideline. So all of it's good to go.
Well, all right.
Plus we have another 100 coming in this week. That'll put me at about $1,000 of fun and excitement to play with. Where are you at?
A much more conservative number with my bots. Haven't been doing any back and forth trading. It's just been buy and hold each week. So very low maintenance, but we are up a total of, do some quick math, about 75, just under $75. It's 74 and some change. So 74 and some change off of 600. I'm up just over 10%, which really isn't a true 10% if you want to look at it, right? Because I didn't have 600 to start. But either way, an averaged 10% over the last, I guess we're on week 7, so 7 weeks. And I guess 6 weeks because we put in 600. So 6 weeks, up an average 10%. And my plan is just keep going with this. There is the option though, and we talked about this before the show, where maybe I get a little more risky and I plan to short Ethereum when it hits 2,000.
that absolutely floored me today when you were like, okay, I think I'm wanting to look at shorting Ethereum. And I'm like, right now? No, not right now. But I agree. I like it. Close to that 1950 mark would be about the time that I'd be looking at going in after it hit that 2000, started coming back down a little bit, especially on a retest. But man, it could push through. If it hit it and pushed the rest of the way, looking at 2400.
Gross.
Be a shorting nightmare. So right now, what are you thinking? Are you gonna reload your 100 this week into?
Yep, I'll throw it in the bot and I'll wait for the ETH.
Do you want to do a bot challenge?
I don't. I don't like the parameters of our challenge. I want it to be a bot setup versus bot setup, not an asset versus asset. Because then it has the bot is irrelevant. It's just which one does better or which one's more volatile.
Well, I in all the bots discussion that we've had, it's made me get interested in setting up another. I've got a couple of bots that are running already, but I haven't used. I've only done the spot bots, the grid-based ones. I haven't used your infinite grid bot yet. So I kind of want to play with it a little bit, but for me, I've done well playing with the money that I've got in the margin account, and I may just continue to play with that and maybe slide this 100 in to do my first DCA, even though I still believe that down the road we're going to have a pullback. I do like Matic. I'd love to get in at it under that 89 cent mark. If I get around 88 or 89, I would definitely load into it. But I'm also interested in going ahead and put it. I could stake it. I could get it now and then go ahead and put it in to have it staked. I think I can get around 7% on it. Avalanche under 27. If ETH comes back down, my next buy-in on ETH to ride it back up again would be 1691. It's currently around 1840, 1845. BNB has looked really good. Now, you've had Binance before. Are you interested in getting in there? I know that you probably got it in a farm somewhere, don't you?
I've been looking at putting it into a farm, but
You don't have it in a farm now?
I don't have any at all right now.
God, that's really surprises me that you don't have it farmed out.
It surprises me too. But
What are you waiting on?
I just rather have it in other things, I guess.
I guess so. What about Cardano? Any interest in doing? Have you seen any good farms for Cardano? I know you look a lot at Beefy and Pancake and.
Not really. I mean, all the best farms really are centered around coins that are on BNB, and then you get. I mean, you'll find stuff for Avalanche and Matic and a little bit of Ethereum, but some of those ones that are the bigger coins that are the layer one coins, you just don't find anything outrageous for them. Like Bitcoin, you're never going to find anything crazy on Bitcoin. And, surprisingly, you can on Ethereum. I don't know if it's just because there's so much stuff built on Ethereum, so there's all these weird pairings, but, you'll find farms for Ethereum that, most of the time they're going to average out to being 4, 5, 6% interest a year, but you'll catch them spiking up to 20, 30% on the right day. And you just don't find that with Cardano and Bitcoin. And I'm going to assume it's just because there's less pairings between the two. I guess that's not even fair because Bitcoin has a lot of pairings when it comes to trading. I guess there's not coins being built on it. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. And that's why they want to pair those up with ETH. I would think you could find some with Solana. Of course, we talked about the downfall of Solana earlier today.
Well, here, I'll look it up while we're here.
I'm still looking at Sand. I would like to catch Sand again around that $1.29 mark. I could have caught it early this morning, but I was really waiting on the CPI numbers to come out. And then, I don't know, about 6:30, 6:45 a.m. CST, it looked like everything was fixing to run a little bit. So I had a break, and by the time I got back from my break, man, it was already starting to move. So I did go in on an ETH trade this morning, got back out already. which is where my second ETH trade came from for the margin account. But as far as the sand goes, I was kind of waiting for it to come back down. I still think that going forward, some of the metaverse plays, I do want in on those, and I think this wouldn't be a bad time to DCA with it. I think worst case, apocalyptic worst case scenario for it, maybe 50 cents, 70 cents, but I think it could go a long way from where it's at right now, which is around $1.35. So those are the ones I'm really looking at this week. I may go long on Matic and just start DCA in there. And I still like Link as well, but it's not one that I'm looking at right this second. I think we'll be seeing a pullback by the end of the week, and that's probably where I'm going to look at going in. I don't think I'm going to do anything in the next 24 hours. I'm just going to kind of watch and see. We've had a big run up, and I don't know, maybe Craig's right. Maybe shorten ETH would be the way to go, but I'm not prepared to do it right now.
So I have my first update for you. This is for Cardano on Beefy Finance, looking at their pools. Now, mind you, I filter these only to certain chains. I don't use all of them, because some of these, I don't even know what these are. I don't know what Emerald chain is. Not going to use it. I don't know what Metis is or Optimism chain. There are just certain ones that I'm not going to use. So I choose my big three. I go Polygon, BNB, and Kronos. And on those, we have 4 ADA farms. 3 of them are with BNB. It's an ADA BNB. And the 4th was an ADA Ethereum. The Ethereum one pays 1.7% interest. And the highest ADA BNB pays 10.5%.
Ooh, I like this.
So that is fine. But you can stake Cardano for what, 4.5%?
Yeah, around between 4 and 5.5%, just depending on which one you're going into.
Yeah, so I mean, you get half as much, but then you don't have any impermanent loss either. That's another thing that you have to factor in there. So, I mean, could it be worth it? Sure, but it's not. It's still not anything crazy. I mean, 10% is 10%, but then let's look at Solana here. This won't be too long. Solana. So Solana gets a little bit better. We have a farm that I would be interested in, which is a Solana USDT farm. I like to pair mine with stable coins. Solana USDT, 22% interest right now. A Solana BNB at 22% interest. And another Solana BNB that is only at 14.5%. But those are the only 3 farms. That's all I got for Solana, at least on these 3 chains, right? Whereas, I can turn this around and look at something maybe a little less mainstream, and I'll look at like Kronos. I'll look at Crow, and there are a ton of farms. I mean, I have an escrow Crow, which is the one I just lost a lot of money in last week, a lot being relative to the amount I put in. There's a VVS Crow, an LIQ Crow. There's a Hot Cross hit because it has CRO and Hot Cross. A Crow USDC, an Atom Crow, a Crow Bitcoin, a Crow ETH, a Crow USDT, a Tonic Crow, a Doge Crow, a Shiba Crow, Dark Crow, Sky Crow. I mean, there's just a list of them. And we're looking as high as, well, I'm not going to count these crappy ones. Let's go with VVS, as high as 143% interest.
Well, that sounds a lot better, and it could be worth the impermanent loss, whereas something else at that lower percentage, it seems like that's the gamble that you're taking with it, is how much you're going to lose through the impermanent loss.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end, I like the farm just because if you think everything is moving more or less sideways or even slightly downwards before we're coming back up, I don't want to have it all sitting in the asset because it's just going to stay stagnant or lose value. Whereas the farm, if I can get some interest on this, and then I can move it over into the asset later when I think the run is going to start to happen, I like it more. Or I can just hold on to it, and as the value goes up, yeah, the value of my farm doesn't go up quite as much as just holding the asset, but it's a hedge against the downside while also getting to participate in the upside while also having an interest even after the upside. So I'm a farmer.
How do you feel right now of the farming, what you've been doing versus the trades I've been making on the margin? Feel like it's going to end up coming back to get me, and that you're okay going a little bit slower than seeing slower, steadier gains than
As far as the challenge goes?
as far as the challenge goes, yes.
You will always be ahead until you miss. And then the question is, how big do you miss? And as we put more and more money and the account grows higher and higher, an even smaller miss will be it'll be a larger amount of money just because of the volume of trading you're doing. So it's, to me, I just don't want to risk all the progress on one bad call, which I've done multiple times in the last few months. It's the story of my life with trading over the last few months has been good trade, good trade, good trade, one bad margin call that eats all those profits. Repeat. So if you play it careful enough, I think you can stay ahead the entire time of the challenge, but the one bad call can get you.
Well, it's kind of why I'm leaning on my strategy to just continue to play with what I've got on the margin side, and then if I start DCAing in with that extra 100 each week, as long as I don't have a huge miss on the margin side of it, what I'm putting in right now for the DCA, it's almost using what I've made from the margin and just moving it over and just keeping some of it on the side. It may be a good strategy moving forward. I don't know.
I think a healthy combination is best.
Well, it may be what I do because, like I said, currently I've got 100 in Cardona and 100 on spot on the side, and I've still got 700 that I'm up on the margin side of it. So I think that moving forward, maybe I'll start adding a little bit on the side as long as I'm still making some on the margin. I think that's my strategy moving forward on how to move on up, because we'll be sitting at $1,000 here come the end of the day. We'll go ahead and reload. So Craig, would you rather? Shall we?
Let's do a quick one.
All right, Craig, would you rather short ETH right now or short ETH in a month?
I'll short ETH now.
Why right now?
Because I don't know what it's going to be in a month. It could be down, and then I don't want to short it. I feel better about knowing ETH has recently pumped up and taking the shot on shorting it right now versus a month from now being forced to short whatever the price is.
What do you think it's going to be in a month? Do you think you're going to be up, or do you think ETH is going to be up in a month or down?
Absolutely up.
No kidding.
Because the merge is supposed to be next month. And I know you don't believe it, and I know it can get delayed again as well, but I think it'll be this year. We've already had this discussion. You think it's going to be after this year. I think it's going to be during this year. So I think it's up. I think it's up. I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope that the merge happens on schedule and everything goes smooth.
ETH's had a pretty good run up over the last week and a half.
And they just added the ETH merge section on KuCoin. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I hadn't seen that, no.
Yep, just added a new section.
Well, what we haven't really seen is a big run up from Bitcoin. It's hanging there just at that 24,000 mark. Hadn't been able to really push through that 24,000.
But I'm okay with this, and I'll let you know why. And it's because one of the things that I've always disliked in the crypto market is that when one coin gets good news, they all move up. And it doesn't make any sense to me that one coin gets good news and then they all proportionally move. I want them to disproportionately move, because why invest in anything other than Bitcoin or Ethereum if they're all just going to move the same anyways? Might as well just take the most popular one, the one that feels most secure. So ETH having good news and moving up twice as much as Bitcoin as far as a percentage gain on the 24 hours is good, because now people are going to have to be more selective of what they put money into. And they can't just risk it on all these coins out there that are garbage and let that money funnel into the good stuff that we all actually believe in.
Well, I think the Mt. Gox release of Bitcoin is happening. It's happening this month. It's real soon if it's not happening right now. And I wonder if that's going to play a part in it also. If we may actually see Bitcoin have a pullback when that Bitcoin gets released, as individuals start selling that off, if it actually starts pushing it down while everything else continue going up just because of an influx in the amount of Bitcoin that's hitting the market at one time. I think that's completely plausible, and I think that's something to kind of be watchful for. If you are currently invested into Bitcoin, I think that's one thing to watch. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap it up. This has been Crypto BS. I'm Al.
And I'm Craig.
Signing off.